How's it morning? What an absolutely stunning day. And I was fortunate enough that I got my birthday present a month early yesterday. So what I did was I got some new camera equipment so that I would be able to do the type of content that I really want to do, which is primarily outdoor type of motorcycling and anything that relates to that adventure type stuff. I must be honest with you guys. As I get deeper and deeper down this rabbit hole of politics, the less I really want to watch it, the less I really want to commentate on it, the less I really want to be involved in it, because in the position that I'm in now, the only real sort of traction I've got now is that, I'm in this local drug action committee, and yesterday I was invited to a civil board on substance abuse, who have got some very good ideas, but I don't want to get into that now. Let's just see if we can formulate this thing, and then we'll talk more about it later. But that's sort of more that I want to focus on than the politics. But unfortunately, just like you, it's very difficult not to get sucked into what you see people are doing and saying, which ultimately comes down the pipeline and affects you and I, where we sit. And, for me, there are just certain issues that really just have to be dealt with. The first issue that I think really, really, really has to be dealt with is the issue of these radical politicians. At some point, we're going to have to make a decision and just tune them out, completely tune them out, and in fact just not give them the airtime that they so desperately desire to remain relevant. On that note, yesterday, or the day before yesterday, and I wanted to comment on it, but I ran out of time very quickly. I saw this guy from NUMSA, I think he's the chairman or the general secretary or whatever phenomenal title he's given himself, or that they've given him. He now wants to do another march to the United States Embassy, with the members of the National Union of Metal Workers of South Africa. Now, I don't know if these guys really, understand economics whatsoever. We just had Metal Steel close its doors, and I would guess that they must have had around 4,000 employees nationally. And every one of those employees pays a membership fee to the Metal Workers Union to come and negotiate at the bargaining council for better salaries and whatever the case may be. But what these guys fail to understand is that if you are hammering businesses to a point where it is unsustainable to continue paying the salaries, in order that you don't make profit anymore, then we close the steel factory, or we close whatever factory it is, because what these ideologues don't get is that without profit, salaries can't be paid. So if I open a small business, it's just me and let's say my wife. We work, we start showing a profit because the work is increasing now. And so we're showing a better profit, and we can't manage the amount of work that we have to do to continue. And we want to make more profit. We then hire someone to come in, work for us, and to help us grow the profit margin. Then we work, the three of us work, it works, the person works well, the profits increase, the workload increases, then we hire someone else. Now there's 4 of us. And so we go until eventually you have a business that's employing 4,000 people and is listed on the stock exchange and you're selling shares. Now these guys come along and they want to now squeeze the businesses to the point where, they expect the employees who took no capital risk, were not the visionaries, do not hold the intellectual property, are not responsible for the debt, are not responsible for the bills, are not responsible for anything other than working and getting their salary. They now expect these guys to earn what directors of companies and boards are earning. And they squeeze and pressurize these companies to the point where when they look at their margins, they just say, well, if we sell this company or if we liquidate this company, the liquidation value is going to be more than what we are currently earning in profit. And they shut it down. And now you've got 4,000 members that are not paying membership fees. So, as you continue down this trajectory of demonizing businesses, especially businesses of that magnitude and size, they shut down here and they move to a country that's business friendly and they open the company there, and then their profits start again and they start making money again. And all you're left with is a desolated factory and 4,000 people without jobs, and you've got 4,000 membership fees that aren't coming in. So instead of concentrating on that, what we're now concentrating on to try and gain relevance once again is attacking the United States, who is without a doubt our biggest trade partner, was our biggest trade partner, and you seem completely intent on destroying all trade, all relationships with that country, in the hope that China and Russia are going to come to your rescue and buy from you what America used to buy from you. And they're simply not. Because the reason that they want you is to get as much out of you for free and sell you stuff. So I saw stats the other day on a YouTube broadcast where what we're already seeing developing out of China is that they buy our raw materials for next to nothing, absolutely next to nothing. They then go and they turn those raw materials into products, like what I'm using right now. And Chinese cars and Chinese motorcycles and Chinese TVs and Chinese crap that we buy on Temu, all of us. And all this stuff they turn into this rubbish, and then they sell it back to us at 10,000% over what the raw materials would have cost. And they make massive profit because they're a communist country, and so people don't earn very much money there. And we buy it, and we just lose. So the trade deficit, for people that don't understand, is what we sell to this country versus what we buy. And in terms of with China, our trade deficit is ludicrous. The guys gave the dollar value, and what we're buying over what we're selling, it's ridiculous. So to try and explain to people who don't understand, because people that watch, there might be people that watch my video that don't understand. Let's say you got a job and you earn 500 Rand a month, okay? But you have to buy stuff for your house every month that is 3,000 Rand a month. You're not able to afford that. So what do? You make debt. You take that stuff that you have to have or that you want on credit. And that's what we're doing. In favor of people like the United States that pay us hard cash, and our trade deficit was with them, that we were giving them and selling them way more than what we were buying from them. And that was Donald Trump's argument all along, is that what we were buying, we were charging massive tariffs on them, and they were buying from us on the AGOA deal with zero tariffs, while we are supporting their enemies. So this guy now from NUMSA is now having a march against the United States. So I want to ask him, right, our steel products, okay? Because we're not selling steel to China. China is now selling steel to us. I know that from people in the building industry. We're not selling aluminium extrusions to China. We are importing aluminium extrusions from China. Stuff that we used to manufacture, and export, we're now buying from China. And we are manufacturing nothing. And then at the same time, you're putting the farmers under so much pressure now because they can't sell to America now because of the tariffs. The tariffs are just too high. So when an American goes to his supermarket and he sees a lovely apple from South Africa that used to cost $1 versus an American apple that used to cost $1, the South African apple looked much better. You buy the South African apple. But now if he goes to the supermarket and he wants to buy a South African apple, it's going to cost him $4 and an American apple is going to cost him $1. He's not going to buy the South African apple. And America was by and far our largest export market for agriculture. So now we're killing that, all right? Where are we going to sell it to? You know what I'm saying? So with that all collapsing, and the industry's collapsing, who does Mr. NUMSA think is going to pay his salary when there's no more members that are employed that can pay his salary? And this is what they just don't seem to understand. So I said this on a post. I said, maybe you should start concentrating on keeping the industries in this country afloat so that you and your flipping members can get salaries. But instead of doing this ridiculous stuff that has got absolutely no effect and no impact, and this is the problem with this current dispensation. These guys live on slogans. They live on slogans. They think that slogans are going to put food on the table. And slogans don't put food on the table. Jobs put food on the table. And until they start changing their ideas and start understanding, if you're watching what's going on in Davos right now, these people better start understanding that the world has had enough. Don't believe what the media tells you. Go and watch the actual Davos presentations in totality. Don't watch the sound bites. Don't watch the video bites. Watch the whole thing. And you'll see, number one, the World Economic Forum is collapsing. The World Economic Forum that has been pushing a socialist ideology is busy collapsing because that ideology is failing around the world. People want to own things. People want to have their own piece of land. People want to have a nice car. People don't want the state dictating to them what they can, cannot own and what they can and cannot do in their own personal spaces. People don't want the state deciding what they can and cannot do with the money that they've worked for. And this is the problem with the ANC government. They want to tell us what we must do with our money that we worked for. And then, when we do with that money what they tell us to do, they steal all of it. And I've always said this, and I'm going to leave you with this. You know, I have never made the claim that under apartheid that the National Party government was not corrupt. I've never made that claim. And this is how I've always explained it to people. All governments are corrupt. All governments. All politicians are corrupt. But in order to stay in power, some of them are clever enough to do this. The money comes in, the GDP, right? The budget, the tax. All the money comes in. The government says, right, police, there's your money. That's how much we're allocating to you, police. Army, that's your money. That's how much and so they go through all the departments, right? Then at the end, there's a profit. There should be. Or a percentage left over. Then the politicians or the government sit around that and they say, right, we're taking half of that profit and we're paying off our debt, okay? And the balance we'll steal. But not this government. What this government does is the money all comes in. Everyone steals and then there's nothing left and then they go lend money to give to the police, the army and that, and then they steal 3/4 of that as well. And that is how they operate. And that is why we're in the toilet. We can never move forward like that. All right. So that's my 2 cents for today. I hope you guys have a fantastic day. I'm going to be speaking a little bit more on addiction issues and what's happening in the country as things develop going forward. And, sort of give more perspectives, I guess, on other things in life rather than this continual merry-go-round of absolute stupidity that we are engaged in South Africa at the moment. You know, a lot of people are putting on social media how much they hate Donald Trump. You know, this is what happens when there's pushback to stupidity. You know, I don't agree with everything that he stands for, but I know this. He does what he says, and he's making a plan. And quite frankly, right now, he's the only person in the world that's standing up for conservative, democratic, capitalist values. Simple as that. Everyone else is bending over backwards to accommodate Islamism and communism. And he's the only guy standing there against it. So love him or hate him. Just remember, he's the only one that's actually fighting for our rights on a global scale. Shot, guys. Cheers.